The December wind sliced through Megan Reed's thin jacket as she hurried down the packed Manhattan sidewalk. At 34, she'd become an expert at making every dollar count, for herself and her 10-year-old daughter, Haley. The administrative job at Hartwell Industries had been the lifeline that kept them afloat after her ex-husband vanished 3 years earlier, leaving behind nothing but debt and broken promises. "Morning, Miss Reed," called Pete, the security guard, as she flashed her badge at the gleaming skyscraper's entrance. "Morning, Pete. Freezing out there today?" she replied, stomping slush from her worn boots. Warm air wrapped around her as she stepped inside. In the rush of commuters, she didn't notice the disheveled man sitting on the sidewalk outside, half hidden behind cardboard. Most people didn't. They streamed past, eyes locked on phones or the revolving doors, pretending not to see him. That wasn't how Megan was built. But she didn't see him yet. On the 22nd floor, she took her place at the reception desk of Human Resources. A few minutes later, her supervisor swept in. Victoria Dawson wore winter white and designer heels, every hair in place, every accessory expensive. Megan could guess the cost of the outfit. It was more than a month of her take-home pay. "I need the quarterly reports on my desk by noon," Victoria said without looking up from her phone. "And Mr. Hartwell is visiting our floor today, so everything needs to be perfect." "Mr. Hartwell?" the CEO. Megan asked, surprised. In 18 months at the company, she had never seen the reclusive founder, William Hartwell. He was more myth than man, rumors, annual letters, the occasional photograph in the internal newsletter. "Yes, that Mr. Hartwell," Victoria replied with an eye roll. "He's doing some executive walkthrough. Make sure the coffee bar is stocked with those single-origin beans he likes." The morning blurred by in phone calls, data entry, and cleaning up other people's mistakes. At lunch, Megan grabbed her brown paper bag and headed downstairs. Snow was falling in fat, heavy flakes now, the wind sharper than it had been that morning. As she stepped outside, she saw him, the same man from earlier, huddled tighter against the glass near the building's wall. He shivered uncontrollably, clutching a scrap of cardboard that read, "Anything helps." Office workers streamed past, collars up, eyes forward. Megan hesitated. She walked over, careful not to startle him. He looked to be in his 50s, gray beard, weather-worn skin under a tattered hood. His hands were red and cracked from the cold. "Sir," she said gently, "would you like half my sandwich? It's turkey and cheese." He looked up, startled. His blue eyes were clear, not clouded. "That's very kind of you," he said, voice more articulate than she'd expected. "It's nothing, really." She split her sandwich, handed him half, then unscrewed the top of her thermos. "This is homemade chicken noodle. Still hot. Keep the thermos for now. I'll get it back later." He accepted both, still studying her. "Why would you help a stranger?" Megan shrugged. "My dad always said kindness costs nothing but means everything." She checked her watch and winced. "I have to go. Will you still be here when I'm done?" He nodded. Megan hurried back inside, unaware that from the lobby Victoria had watched the entire exchange. The afternoon brought chaos. One of the company's top executives had resigned unexpectedly, and Victoria was in full crisis mode. Briefings.
Org chats. Anglais sur Gmail.
At 4:30 Megan's phone rang. "I need you to stay late," Victoria said, clipped and impatient. "The executive team needs these reports by morning." Megan's stomach clenched. "I'm sorry, but I have to pick up my daughter from after-school care by 6, or they charge extra fees I can't afford." "This isn't optional, Megan. This is a critical business need." "I understand, but I'm a single mother. There's literally no one else who can get her." "Then perhaps Hartwell Industries isn't the right fit for someone with your constraints." Cold fear washed over Megan. She couldn't lose this job. "I'll see what I can do," she said quickly. "If I can find someone to pick up Haley, I'll stay as late as you need." After 20 frantic calls, she finally reached Mrs. Wilson, her elderly neighbor. Yes, she could collect Haley and keep her for the evening. Crisis barely averted. Megan dove back into work, barely noticing as the floor emptied out. At 7:30, a glimpse out the window made her pause. Snow was coming down harder now. The man outside still sat in the same spot, more silhouette than person in the swirl of white. She remembered her promise. On impulse, she grabbed her emergency credit card and ordered a hot dinner from the deli across the street. When it arrived 15 minutes later, she headed for the elevator. As she stepped out of the HR department, she caught a glimpse of Victoria's disapproving gaze. Outside, the cold hit harder than before. She crossed to the huddled figure. "You came back," he said as she approached. "I said I would." She handed him the bag. "It's a hot meal." And she unwound the scarf from around her neck and held it out. "Please take this too. It's not much, but it might help." "I can't take your scarf. You'll freeze." "I have others," she lied. The wind cut into her already. "Please." He accepted it slowly. "Thank you, miss." "Megan." "Megan Reed." "Thank you, Megan Reed. I'm..." He hesitated. "Jack." "Nice to meet you, Jack." She smiled, then glanced at the lit floors above. "I wish I could do more, but my boss is already not thrilled with me. I have to get back." As she turned away, his voice followed her. "Why risk your boss's anger for a stranger?" Megan turned back, smile sadder this time. 3 years ago, after my husband left, people helped me when I had nothing. I'm just paying it forward." Victoria was waiting by Megan's desk when she got back, arms crossed, expression icy. "Did you just give company-ordered food to a homeless person?" "I paid for it myself," Megan said, dropping back into her chair. "That man has been sitting outside all day. He's been loitering outside our building for days," Victoria snapped. "Security has been instructed to move him along, not encourage him with meals." "He's a human being," Megan said quietly. "It's freezing out. It's inappropriate behavior for a Hartwell employee. You represent this company even on your lunch break." Megan bit down on the response rising in her throat and turned back to her monitor. "I'll have the reports done within the hour." "See that you do," Victoria said, heels clicking away. By 9, Megan finally hit send on the last report. Exhausted, she began packing up. Victoria reappeared, this time with the head of security at her side. "Ms. Reed," the man said, clearly uncomfortable. "We've reviewed today's security footage. You were observed not only fraternizing with that vagrant, but giving him company property." "What?" Megan stared. "I told you I paid for the food. The thermos." Victoria cut in, satisfaction in her eyes. "With the Hartwell logo. Company property." Megan blinked. "It's a $5 promotional thermos. I was going to get it back tomorrow." "Regardless, company policy is clear regarding theft," Victoria said. "We have to take this seriously." "Theft?" Megan's voice rose. "You can't be serious. I have a daughter. Ms. Dawson has filed a formal complaint," the security manager said stiffly. "I'm going to have to ask for your badge." "You're firing me over a thermos?" Megan choked. "Please, this is a misunderstanding. Your final check will be mailed," Victoria said, unmoved. "Clean out your desk now." Half an hour later, Megan stood outside Hartwell Industries with a cardboard box in her arms, her breath puffing in the icy air. Tears stung her face and froze on her cheeks. The spot where Jack had sat was empty. No cardboard, no scarf. Almost as if he'd never been there. "How am I going to tell Haley?" she whispered. "How are we going to survive?" On the top floor in a dark corner office, a man watched her walk away. He picked up his phone. "Frank, it's William," he said quietly. "I need you to do something for me. Immediately." The next morning, Megan sat at her tiny kitchen table, laptop open, despair pressing like a weight on her chest. She had already fired off 17 job applications. It was mid-December. Most companies wouldn't be hiring again until January. 6 weeks away. 2 rent payments. Utilities. Food. Childcare. Mom. Haley stood in the doorway, backpack on, hair in a messy ponytail. At 10, she was too observant for Megan's comfort. "Are you okay?" "Just tired," Megan said, forcing a smile. "Do you have your math homework?" "Uh-huh." Haley's eyes searched her face. "You don't have to go to work today." "Got some time off," Megan said, the lie sour on her tongue. She couldn't tell Haley yet. Not until she had anything to offer as a plan. "Want me to walk you to school?" Haley brightened. "Yeah." After dropping her off, Megan ducked into a coffee shop, ordered the cheapest drink on the menu, and went back to scrolling job boards. Her phone rang. "Is this Megan Reed?" a man's voice asked. "Yes. This is Frank Turner, Mr. William Hartwell's personal assistant. Mr. Hartwell would like to meet with you today at 11. Megan almost dropped the phone. "The CEO? He wants to see me? Why?" Mr. Hartwell didn't share his reasons. "A car will pick you up at 10:30. Where are you now?" Still stunned, Megan told him the coffee shop's cross streets. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe Victoria had overstepped. Maybe her job wasn't gone. At exactly 10:30, a sleek black sedan pulled up outside. The driver, a poised woman in her 40s, stepped out. "Miss Reed? I'm Diana, Mr. Hartwell's driver." The car slid through traffic to the Upper East Side, past the Hartwell building, to an elegant brownstone on a quiet street. "Mr. Hartwell works from home on Thursdays," Diana explained as she led Megan up the steps. "He'll see you in the library." Inside, the house was elegantly understated. Dark polished wood, soft rugs, original art. Diana guided her into a paneled room lined with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. "Mr. Hartwell will be right with you," she said, then closed the door. Megan stood, taking everything in. Framed photos dotted the shelves. A younger William with an older couple who must be his parents, a graduation shot, a sailing trip, an awards ceremony. In each, he looked self-possessed, assured, every inch the billionaire CEO. The door opened. Megan turned and gasped. Jack from the sidewalk stood there. Clean-shaven, hair trimmed, wearing a perfectly cut suit. Without the grime and layers, he seemed taller, his presence filling the doorway. "Hello, Megan," he said. Same voice. No rasp of exhaustion this time. "Jack," she whispered. I don't understand. William Hartwell, actually." He stepped forward, extending a hand. "Please have a seat." She sank into a leather armchair, feeling the world tilt. "You were." She shook her head. "You were the homeless man. Once a year," he said, settling into the chair opposite. "I spend a week on the streets near our buildings. My father started the tradition after he built this company. He worried I'd lose touch with reality if I only saw it from the boardroom. So this was some kind of test?" she asked, trying to keep the edge out of her voice. "An experience," he corrected gently. "Not designed to test employees. Just to learn. In 7 years, you are the only Hartwell employee who has ever stopped to help me." Anger flared through her shock. "And for that I lost my job. My daughter and I could lose our home. That's why you're here," he said. "Victoria Dawson had no authority to fire you, especially for something so absurd." "The thermos," Megan said bitterly. He reached down and lifted the Hartwell logo thermos she'd given him. "This?" he asked. "Apparently we're both thieves. Perhaps I should fire myself." Despite everything, Megan let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "I doubt the board would go for that." "Probably not," he agreed dryly. His expression sobered. "Ms. Dawson's behavior reflects poorly on the company my father built. I wanted to apologize personally. Your termination has been rescinded. You'll be reinstated immediately, with back pay." Relief hit so hard it made her dizzy. "Thank you, Mr. Hartwell." "William, please," he said. "Actually, there's more. I don't just want you back in your old job." She frowned. "I don't follow." "Your file says you have a bachelor's in business administration," he said. "Yet you've been working as an admin." "After my divorce, I needed stability, not ambition," Megan said quietly. "Single parenting doesn't leave a lot of space for career moves." "I understand compromise," he said. "My father raised me alone after my mother died." His gaze sharpened. "But your performance reviews mention you've streamlined HR processes on your own initiative. I just saw ways things could run more smoothly." "That's exactly the kind of thinking I want," he said. He handed her a folder. "This is an offer for assistant director of our new community outreach division. Double your previous salary. Flexible hours to accommodate your daughter." She opened the folder. The number on the page made her throat close. "This is," she swallowed. "I don't know what to say." "You already said it," he replied. "Yesterday. Kindness costs nothing but means everything." What you did wasn't just kind. It was courageous. You did the right thing, even when there could be consequences. What about? She hesitated. Optics. Won't people think you're giving special treatment because I helped you on the street? I hope they do, he said simply. Maybe it will encourage more of it. Practicality kicked in. What would this role actually involve? Hartwell has always donated to causes, he said. But it's been reactive. Scattered. I want a dedicated department targeting real community needs. The first priority. Homelessness in our major cities. After yesterday, that feels appropriate, Megan admitted. I thought so too. He glanced at his watch. I have a board call in 10 minutes. Take the weekend to think it over. Call Frank with your decision on Monday. And Victoria? She asked. That's no longer your concern, he said. But I don't tolerate management like that. On the ride home, Megan's thoughts buzzed. The salary meant breathing room for the first time in years. A safer neighborhood. Savings. Maybe even a college fund for Haley. And a job that actually mattered. But doubt whispered too. Was this real? Would it disappear if his guilt faded? Could she actually do what he was asking? That afternoon, when she picked up Haley from school, her daughter studied her closely. You look happy, Haley said. Did something good happen? Maybe, Megan said carefully. I might have a new job opportunity. That night, after tucking Haley into bed, Megan sat on the couch with her laptop. She dug deeper into everything she could find on William Hartwell. Working-class Ohio roots. A father who'd built a small tech firm. A son who'd turned it into an international corporation. Almost no social life in the press. Few interviews. Quiet, massive donations to shelters and education. One article mentioned his annual strategy retreats. When he disappeared from public view. Now she knew what those really were. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The offer is genuine. No strings attached. Trust your instincts. She stared at the message, oddly reassured that he had anticipated her doubts. By Sunday night she had decided. This wasn't just about her. It was about Haley. And the people they might help. On Monday morning she called Frank and accepted. Within hours an email arrived with new hire paperwork and instructions to report to the 28th floor. The executive suite on Wednesday. On Tuesday a courier delivered a small package. Inside. A new Hartwell ID with her new title, business cards and a handwritten note. Looking forward to working together. Your thermos has been officially added to your benefits package.
Wucha.
A velvet box lay beneath the card. Megan opened it to find a delicate silver pendant shaped like a tiny thermos. On the back engraved in miniature. Kindness costs nothing but means everything. Her father's words now resting on a chain in her hands. She fastened the necklace around her neck. Fingers lingering on the charm as tears stung her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she felt something other than exhaustion and fear. She felt hope. On her first day as Assistant Director of Community Outreach, Megan stepped off the elevator onto the executive floor and tried not to gape. The space was all glass, clean lines, and sunlight pouring in over sweeping views of Manhattan. Ms. Reed. Frank greeted her. Welcome to 28. You can call me Megan, she said, still a little stunned. Then it's only fair you call me Frank, he replied. Mr. Hartwell asked me to show you to your office and introduce you to your team. My office, she repeated. He led her down a hallway lined with modern art to a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows. A sleek desk faced the door. A small sofa and chairs sat in a conversation nook. This is mine, she asked. Mr. Hartwell personally chose it, Frank said. Said you'd appreciate the light. On the desk sat a new laptop, a company phone, and a small potted plant with a note tucked into the soil. Growth begins with a single seed. Before she could respond, Frank ushered her to a conference room where 3 people waited. Your core team, he said. All transfers who requested this assignment. Introductions went quickly. Ryan Cooper, early 30s from marketing, quick grin, creative brain. Patricia Winters, seasoned finance analyst with a calm demeanor and 15 years of experience. Tyler Nguyen, mid-20s from IT, quietly intense, the creator of an app that tracks shelter bed availability in real time. Mr. Hartwell said you'd be setting our direction, Ryan said. We're excited to hear your ideas. Megan took a breath. Full transparency, I was an admin in HR last week. I'm still catching up on what this job entails. Patricia smiled. We know. Mr. Hartwell shared some of your story. He did? Megan asked, startled. Tyler nodded. He said you represent what this department should be about. That's why we all asked to come here. Emotion pricked behind her eyes. She blinked it away. Then let's figure it out together, she said. What are we already doing in the community, and where are the gaps? They spent the morning mapping existing donations, partnerships, and sponsorships. By lunch, they'd identified 3 major areas in need of a coherent strategy. As they worked, Megan's nerves gave way to something else. Genuine excitement. Just after noon, Frank appeared. Megan, Mr. Hartwell would like to see you in his office. Hartwell's corner office was even larger than hers. One wall displayed family photos and awards. Another held a digital wall displaying live data from Hartwell locations around the globe. Megan, come in, he said, gesturing to a chair. How's your first day? Overwhelming, she admitted. But in a good way. The team's incredible. They're good people who needed a mission, he said. And leadership. His gaze flicked to her necklace. You're wearing it. She touched the silver thermos. It was a thoughtful gift. Thank you. It's a reminder, he said. For both of us. He leaned back. I have a board meeting tomorrow. They're expecting an update on our first major community initiative. Tomorrow. Megan stared. We only just started brainstorming. Welcome to the executive level, he said with a wry smile. Everything moves faster here. What's resonated so far? Tyler's app, she said. Shelters often operate in isolation. One is full while another has beds. If we could scale his system citywide, maybe even nationally, it could save lives. He nodded. Good. What else? Megan paused, choosing her words. The biggest gap I see is in what happens after shelter. People get a bed for a night or a week but have nowhere to go next. What if we converted one of Hartwell's underused properties into transitional housing with on-site job training and support services? Go on, he said. She outlined the idea that had been forming in her head. Affordable units, training classrooms, counseling rooms, childcare. Partnerships with local employers to create apprenticeship pipelines. A bridge from homelessness to employment and independence. When she finished, he was quiet. It's just early thinking, she said quickly. We'd need to run numbers, look at zoning, talk to partners. It's exactly what I hope to hear, he said, cutting in. Comprehensive, compassionate, strategic. Put together a basic proposal by tomorrow morning. I'll take it to the board. Her pulse kicked up. That's less than 18 hours. You'll manage, he said. You're not alone. Use your team. This is your chance to make real change, Megan. Back in her office, she gathered the team. They ordered takeout and worked straight through dinner, building a proposal from the ground up. Costs, timelines, metrics. Around 8, Megan stepped into the hall to call Mrs. Wilson. We're fine, dear, Mrs. Wilson said. Haley's doing her homework. She keeps talking about how important your new job is. By midnight, the proposal was nearly done. Frank appeared with fresh coffee. From Mr. Hartwell, he said. He figured you might need reinforcements. He's still here? Megan asked. He's almost always here this late, Frank said. This floor might as well be his second home. It's been that way since his divorce. That stopped her. I didn't know he was divorced. 3 years, Frank said. It was kept out of the press. Mrs. Hartwell got a generous settlement and a confidentiality agreement. He hesitated, then added, He's been different since you came along. More engaged. Whatever you said to him that day on the sidewalk made an impression. After Frank left, Megan sent her exhausted team home and read through the proposal one last time. It was solid. Ambitious but solid. At 1 a.m., she emailed it to Hartwell and finally went home. At 6 a.m., her phone rang. The proposal is excellent, Hartwell said without preamble. Meet me in my office at 7:30. The board meets at 8. By 8, Megan stood beside him in the boardroom as he presented their plan. 12 directors, all in tailored suits, watched with varying degrees of skepticism. Megan answered questions about budgets, projected outcomes, and risk management, her initial nerves hardening into conviction as she spoke. "This isn't charity," she told them. "It's strategic investment. Every person we help move from homelessness to stability becomes a potential employee, customer, neighbor. Hartwell Industries lives in these communities. We have a stake in their health." When the questions dwindled, Hartwell asked her to wait in the hall while the board deliberated. She paced for 20 tense minutes before he emerged, face unreadable. "Walk with me," he said, heading toward his office. "They didn't approve it," she said, stomach sinking. "Not exactly," he replied, closing the office door behind them. "They had concerns about the scope and timeline." "I knew we should have scaled it back," she groaned. "If we'd been more conservative." "They thought it was too small," he said, and her head snapped up. "They approved double the budget. And they want to roll it out in 3 cities at once." "You're serious?" she asked. "You impressed them," he said. "Especially Jonathan Blake, the one I expected to resist the most. He said you reminded him of his daughter. Passionate but practical." Relief and exhilaration rushed through her. "That's incredible." "There's more," he said. "They want quarterly updates presented by you." She understood exactly what that meant. Regular appearances in front of the most powerful people at Hartwell. It was both an opportunity and a test. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for trusting me with this." "I trust what you've shown me," he said. His gaze lingered a moment longer than strictly professional. "Now one more thing." He handed her a cream envelope. Inside was an invitation to Hartwell's annual holiday gala at the plaza. Her name and new title were printed in elegant script. "Dress code black tie. As our new assistant director, your presence is expected," he said. "It's next Friday." Panic fluttered in her chest. She didn't own a single formal dress. "There's a stipend for appropriate attire," he added, as if reading her mind. "Frank will walk you through it." "Thank you," she said, trying not to sound too relieved. The week flew by in a haze of meetings, planning calls, and late nights. For the first time in years, Megan threw herself into work that felt like more than survival. At home, Haley adapted quickly, beaming when Megan could now attend school events without begging for shift swaps. On Friday night, Megan stood in front of her bedroom mirror. The emerald green gown she'd chosen with the stipend skimmed her figure and made her eyes look deeper, brighter. The silver thermos pendant rested at her collarbone. She touched it for courage. "You look like a princess," Haley breathed from the doorway. Megan laughed softly. "Just a regular person in a fancy dress." "Dad would be sorry he left if he could see you," Haley blurted. Megan knelt and hugged her. "Then he did us both a favor," she said gently. "We're doing pretty well on our own." Mrs. Wilson arrived to stay with Haley. At 7, a company car pulled up. As Megan stepped outside, her phone buzzed. Text from William. "Looking forward to introducing you to everyone tonight. You've earned this." The car pulled away, carrying her toward another turning point she couldn't yet see. The plaza's ballroom had been transformed into a winter fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in white, studded with orchids and silver. A string quartet played near a towering Christmas tree. Megan paused at the entrance, suddenly conscious of the fact that her dress had cost more than her monthly grocery budget. The room sparkled with power. Executives, politicians, celebrities. "Ms. Reed." Frank appeared at her side in a tuxedo. "Let me show you to your table." He led her toward the front of the room. To her shock, her place card rested at the head table, next to William's. Curious looks followed her as she sat there staring. She whispered. "Mr. Hartwell rarely brings anyone to these events," Frank murmured. "You're a topic of interest." Before she could respond, William appeared. In a tuxedo, he was striking. Polished but not flashy, commanding attention simply by existing in the room. People tried to intercept him, but he walked straight to her. "You look," he paused, eyes appreciative. "Incredible. That color is perfect on you." "Thank you," she said, resisting the urge to fidget with her pendant. "Everything here is beautiful." "It's all set dressing," he said. "What matters are the conversations." He offered his arm. Come meet some people who can help us change things. Throughout the evening, he introduced her to donors, city officials, and potential partners. She spoke about the Transition Center program with conviction, surprising even herself with how natural it felt. "You're a natural," William said quietly after she impressed the mayor. "They're all drawn to you." "I just believe in what we're building," she said. During dessert, William was pulled away to greet a late-arriving dignitary. The woman on Megan's other side turned toward her with a practiced smile. "So," she said, "you must be William's new protege." "I'm Megan Reed," she said, "Assistant Director of Community Outreach." "Of course. I'm Caroline Blake. My husband, Jonathan, is on the board." "It's nice to meet you," Megan said politely. Caroline's smile sharpened. "William has always had an eye for talent," she said. His ex-wife was his assistant once. So was the girlfriend before her. Megan's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "I'm sorry." "Oh, don't look so shocked," Caroline said lightly. "It's a bit of a pattern. He finds bright women in junior roles, lifts them up and, well." Her eyes glittered. "The board jokingly calls it the Hartwell promotion. It rarely ends well. For them." Heat pricked at Megan's cheeks. "That's not our relationship." Caroline patted her hand as if she were indulging a child. "That's what they all say at first. Just be careful, dear. When it's over, and it always is, the women tend to disappear from the company soon after. Such a shame, really." The rest of dinner tasted like ash. Megan watched William from across the room, chatting easily with a senator, then laughing with a client. He was attentive with everyone, not just her. Was that proof against Caroline's insinuations? Or exactly what she was talking about? When the band struck up a waltz, William returned. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, hand extended. She hesitated. "Is something wrong?" he asked quietly. "No," she lied, slipping her hand into his. On the dance floor, he led with calm assurance, weaving them through the crowd. "You've been quiet," he said after a moment. "Did Caroline say something to upset you?" Megan considered brushing it off. Instead, she chose honesty. "She mentioned your history mentoring female employees." His jaw tightened. "Ah, the Blakes excel at elegant gossip," he said. "There's a kernel of truth buried in every one of their stories." "Is it true?" she asked. "About your ex-wife?" "The others." He guided them toward a less crowded corner, away from curious ears. "My ex-wife was my assistant before we married," he said. "Our relationship fell apart for reasons that had little to do with work. There was one other relationship with a colleague many years ago. It didn't last. 2 relationships in 15 years hardly makes the pattern," Caroline implied. Relief mingled with embarrassment. "I'm sorry," Megan said. "I shouldn't have listened." "You're entitled to ask," he said. His hand gently tightened at her waist. "To be perfectly clear, I promoted you because you earned it. Because of who you are and what you did. That's all." The music ended. An elderly man immediately claimed William for a conversation. He gave Megan an apologetic look before being swept away. Back at the table, as she sipped her champagne, a familiar figure approached. "Victoria. Enjoying the view from the top?" Victoria asked, smile thin. "It's different," Megan said evenly. "I'll bet," Victoria murmured. "So, between us, how did you really catch Hartwell's attention? Must be something impressive to go from fired to favored in 1 week." Anger rose like heat. "I treated a man on the street like a human being," Megan said quietly. "You might try it sometime." Victoria's eyes widened. "So it's true. He really was out there slumming it. We all thought that was just some insane rumor." "I have nothing else to say to you," Megan said, turning away. "You won't last," Victoria hissed. "None of his pet projects do." The words lingered. Megan excused herself and escaped to the ladies' room. Under the flattering lights, the woman in the mirror looked like someone else, elegant, confident. But inside, the old insecurities churned. Had he really chosen her for her abilities? Or was she just the latest in a line? When she stepped back into the ballroom, William was waiting, tension in his shoulders easing when he saw her. "You vanished," he said. "Everything all right?" "Just needed a break," she said. It's a lot. Victoria said something. He guessed. It doesn't matter, Megan said. It does, he replied. To me. What did she say? She implied I'm your project, Megan said. That I won't last long. Anger flickered in his eyes. Come with me, he said. There's something I want to show you. He led her up a short flight of stairs to a small terrace. The December air bit immediately, but the view of the city, lights spread out in every direction, was dazzling. He shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Better? He asked. Much, she said, pulling it close. It smelled faintly of cedar and something clean and warm she'd come to think of as him. My father brought me here when I was 12, William said, resting his hands on the railing. My first formal event after my mother died. I hated every second. I escaped up here. He found me an hour later. What did he do? She asked. He sat, William said. Didn't say anything at first. Then he told me something I've never forgotten. Success means nothing if you lose yourself along the way. Wise man, Megan said softly. I haven't always lived by it, William admitted. I've let this company swallow me whole more than once. My marriage didn't survive that. These weeks I spend on the streets. It's my attempt to remember the difference between William and Hartwell Industries. To see the world from ground level again. Why tell me this? She asked. Because you deserve honesty, he said, turning to face her fully. You're not a project. Meeting you that day, meeting who you are when no one's watching, changed something in me. Your kindness, your refusal to look away. That's who I want to be. Who I used to be. Her heart thudded in her chest. What happens now? She asked quietly. That depends on what you want, he said. Professionally, nothing changes. Your role, your authority, your team. That's yours independent of anything else. And personally? She asked, before she could stop herself. Personally, he said, voice lower now. I'd like the chance to get to know you better. Outside Hartwell. No expectations. No strings. Just dinner. Walks. Conversations. She thought of Caroline's warning, of Victoria's sneers. Of the mess that could come from mixing work and something more. She also thought of him sitting on the cold pavement, of the way he'd looked at Haley in the photos she'd shown him, of the trust he'd placed in her ideas. I'd like that, she said finally. His smile was unguarded, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Good. They stood quietly for a while, city lights twinkling below. Megan laughed softly. What? He asked. Just thinking about the last 2 weeks, she said. I got fired for helping a guy on the sidewalk. Now I'm on the plaza terrace with the CEO of Hartwell Industries. Life does take odd turns, he agreed. On that note, there's something else. He pulled a document envelope from his jacket pocket and handed it to her. Inside was a deed to a condominium in a neighborhood near Haley's school. What is this? She asked. Part of a new employee housing initiative, William said. Key personnel can participate. Reduced payments that go toward eventual ownership. I can't take this, she protested. It's too much. It's not a gift, he said gently. It's a benefit you've earned. Your file says your lease expires next month. This would give you and Haley stability. Tears burned behind her eyes. You think of everything. Not everything, he said quietly. But with you around, I'm getting better at thinking past the balance sheet. Inside, the orchestra shifted into a familiar holiday melody. Shall we go back in? He asked. Or escape a bit longer? Megan smiled, fingers closing around the deed and the lapels of his jacket around her shoulders. Let's stay, she said. The view's better out here. Agreed, he answered, but his gaze stayed fixed on her. 6 months later, Megan stood in the lobby of the Hartwell Transition Center and watched families walk through the doors into their new temporary apartments. The building, once an underused Hartwell property, had been transformed. Bright, warm units upstairs, job training rooms, counseling spaces, and a childcare center below. The pilot program had launched in 3 cities at once. Here in New York it was already at capacity. It's even better than I imagined, came a familiar voice. William joined her, dressed simply in jeans and a button-down, looking more like a regular man than a CEO. We did it, Megan said, pride threading her words. You did it, he corrected gently, sliding an arm around her waist. This was your idea from day one. Their relationship had grown deliberately, carefully. At work, they kept things strictly professional. Off the clock, they shared dinners that stretched into long conversations, lazy Sunday afternoons in the park, science projects at her kitchen table. Haley adored him. When her volcano model for the school fair had won first place, she'd insisted it was because William knows everything about chemical reactions. He'd made a point of telling her he definitely did not, but that learning together was the fun part. Megan had discovered in him a partner who respected her independence and her opinions, but who also stood solidly beside her when things got hard. I have something for you, William said now, fishing in his pocket. Another company benefit, she teased. This one's just from me, he said. He handed her a tiny velvet box. For a flicker of a second, her heart jumped to an answer she didn't feel ready to give. But when she opened it, she found not a ring but a small charm, a tiny key to add to her necklace. What's this? She asked, smiling as she clipped it next to the thermos. It's for doors, he said. The ones you've opened for these families. The ones you've opened for me. And maybe, he added carefully, one day, the door to a home we share. If that's a step you ever want to take. Her throat tightened. Are you asking? Not yet, he said, eyes warm. I'm just saying the possibility is there. No rus. No pressure. She rose on her toes and kissed him softly. Thank you, she whispered, for understanding what I need. Always, he said. They spent the rest of the afternoon walking the halls, greeting staff and residents. Watching a young mother settle her toddler onto a real bed for the first time, Megan felt something settle in her own chest. That evening, in the condo that now truly felt like home, they ate pasta at the little table while Haley chattered about her day. So, Haley said, grinning, when are you going undercover again, William? He laughed. Who told you I'm still doing that? You did, she said. Last week. Then yes, he admitted. Detroit plant this time. I trade the suit for a hard hat and listen for things no one would say to the boss. You're still doing that? Megan asked, amused. More than ever, he said. But now I have you nudging me when I miss something important. Later, after Haley was in bed, they sat on the balcony, the city a glittering tapestry around them. Megan turned the necklace between her fingers, the thermos and the key. I've been thinking, she said quietly. Dangerous, he murmured, smiling. She nudged him with her shoulder. About that path you mentioned. The one with the door. His expression gentled. Really? Haley needs stability, she said. And I needed time to be sure this wasn't just gratitude or excitement about my work. But what I feel for you is real, William. It's not about Hartwell. Or the condo. It's about you. The man who sits on cold sidewalks to remember where he came from. The one who looks at my daughter like she's the most important person in the room. She is, he said simply. And so are you. She rested her head against his shoulder, the key charm cool against her skin. From admin assistant to executive. From wondering how to pay the next bill to helping families move from the street into safety. From being left behind to standing beside someone who chose her every day. None of it had been part of her plan. All of it had begun with a simple decision on a freezing day to stop. To see. To hand a stranger half a sandwich and a cheap thermos of soup. The best stories, she thought, rarely started with grand gestures. Sometimes they began with a borrowed thermos on a cold winter sidewalk, and the quiet choice to be kind.